Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu salam ala Rasulullah. We continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's Kitab Sharh Ajaib al-Qalb, The Marvels of the Heart. This is book 21 of Ihya Ulumuddin, The Revival of the Religious Sciences, the Islamic Sciences, translated by Walter James Kelly. We have reached chapter 11. This is page 77. An exposition of the domination of Satan over the heart through evil promptings, the meaning of such suggestions, and the means of overcoming them. بيان تسلط الشيطان على القلب بالوسواس ومعنى الوسوسة وسبب غلبتها. Know, Imam Ghazali rahmallah said, know that the heart, as we have mentioned, is like a pavilion that has been pitched, to which there are doors and influences, and their resultant effects pour into it from each door. It is also like a target into which arrows are shot from every direction. Or it is like a mirror that is set up across which there pass various different images. So there appears in it one image after another, some image being always present. Or it is like a basin into which different streams of water empty from channels opening into it. The entrances of these influences there are that are constantly being renewed in the heart are either from without, that is, from the five external senses, or from within, that is, imagination, appetence, anger, and characteristics that are made up from the temperament of man. For if he apprehends a thing by means of the senses, it has an effect upon the heart. Likewise, when passion is aroused, for example, that which is caused by a hearty eating and a strong constitution, hearty eating and like a hearty meal, rather it's directly would say that over eating is the cause. It leaves its mark upon the heart, even if the effect upon the senses ceases. There remain the imaginative, that is, images that have been formed in the soul. The Of course, we know that the images, if it's about memory, that's exactly where it is. The imagination shifts from one thing to another, and in accordance with the shifting of the imagination, the heart shifts from one state to another. We mean that the heart is constantly in a state of change and being influenced by these secondary causes. The most important of these influences that come into the heart are involuntary suggestions, khawatir. By involuntary suggestions, I mean the ideas, afkar, and recollections, adkar, that take place therein. Involuntary suggestions, khawatir. So basically, involuntary thoughts and by involuntary suggestions, I mean the ideas, afkar, and recollections, adkar, that take place therein. So this confirms the idea that these suggestions, because he does explain, by these I mean its perceptions of knowledge either by way of renewal or recollection. For these are called involuntary suggestions since they come into the mind while the heart has been unmindful of them. Um, so when we might be talking about free association when one is busy with one thing, but it recollects something that is not immediately present in the mind. So one could remember something because of either an image, because of a sound, because of a taste, a smell, anything that is in the memory. And free association, you cannot stop it. Really, that's really. So the occur in the heart when the heart was really oblivious to them. And these khawatir, Imam Al-Ghazali says, these involuntary suggestions are what move wills, إرادات, والخواطر هي المحركات للإرادات. Intention, resolution, and will are all unquestionably subsequent to the suggestion of the thing intended into the mind. Thus, the basis of action is involuntary suggestion. Then of course, it's not in every respect. Then the suggestion stirs up desire, رغبة. Desire stirs up resolution. Resolution stirs up intention, and intention stirs up the members of the body. The inverse suggestions that stir up desire are divided into two classes. Then two. That which leads to evil, by which I mean what has a harmful result, and that which leads to good, by which I mean what is profitable in the next world. So that's the criterion. Uh, and this sets the Muslim apart from those, the Muslim meaning those the Muslims who subscribe to the authentic Islamic worldview. It sets them apart from associating benefit with that which is harmful in the hereafter. Some people do not. Just, I'm going to give one example. Really, in the state of California, when they started thinking the first time about legalizing marijuana, the only thing they thought about was the probably I mean, it's not a very large number, still in the millions of dollars taxes on marijuana once it is legalized, like on alcohol, like on tobacco. They are harmful. Everybody knows that. Many problems, but that's exactly the thinking, and that's exactly so. We have now a businesses emerging, uh, utilizing marijuana, but the issue is it is legal in many states now in the United States to sell marijuana. I've seen it myself in Manhattan, in New York. People selling in broad daylight. They sell small bags of marijuana in the middle of the. It's still on the sidewalk, but in the middle of the city. Really, it's not because it's not illegal anymore. They might not have a permit to sell it, but it is legal. So they could not be arrested because it's illegal. They might be given a fine because they are selling without a permit or something like that, as street vendors. So that so they associate that which is good with simply with a pure material aspect that obviously in breach of revealed original revealed religions, of any decent way of life. Simply, they look at the that which they think of it as a it generates money. They don't care about the rest of the story. No morality, no ethics. Pretty much like selling arms to conflicting parties around the world, or during during actual literally during genocide, as we are witnessing today. So it's not that they are only complicit; they are practically part of the problem. So for us, the criterion: is it beneficial in the hereafter? Is it compatible with the Sharia? And the word Sharia is really misunderstood. Probably even Muslims do not know the extent. And there are so many beautiful things. People in it's not really the point right now to discuss. I hope that we'll have a chance to delve into this idea. So these are two different suggestions and need two different names. The praiseworthy suggestion is called general inspiration, ilham, and the blameworthy suggestion, by which I mean that leading to evil, is called prompting to evil, وسواس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس. Okay. Moreover, you know that these suggestions are created حادثة, and also that every created thing must have a creator, محدث. Whenever the created things differ, this indicates a difference in the secondary causes, أسباب. This is what is known from the laws, the Sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of God, the Exalted, regarding the relationship between effects and causes. And this is something that Imam Ghazali has dealt with at length elsewhere, because think about the story of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. The fire uh, generally burns, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who created this particular relationship between cause and effect, prevented the fire, from harming Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. يا نار كوني بردا وسلاما على إبراهيم. So it's not really automatic, but it will be basically, from the way I understand Imam Ghazali, uh, that these two things happen immediately, one after the other. Occasionals. Whenever the walls of a house are lit by the light of the fire, and its ceiling is blackened by the smoke, you know that the cause of the blackening differs from that of the light. Similarly, the light of the heart and its darkness have two distinct secondary causes. The cause of the suggestion, khatir, that leads to good, is called an angel, malak, and the cause of the suggestion that leads to evil is called a demon, shaitan. The divine favor by which the heart is prepared to receive the inspiration of the angel of good is called divine succor, tawfiq, while that by which it is prepared to receive the evil prompting of the demon is called deception, إغواء. Probably uh, probably temptation is has a captures the meaning of إغواء, seduction. Okay, somewhere between seduction and temptation. and seduction is also, it depends on the context. And desertion, khidlan. For these different meanings need different names. Angel is a term for a creature from God, the Exalted has created, whose task is to bestow benefits, to serve knowledge, to reveal the real, true, and right, to promise good, and to command to good. And God has created him and compelled him to do these things. They do not disobey. There's no disobedience amongst the angels, and Satan belongs to a different category. شياطين الجن لا يعصون الله ما أمرهم. They There is no such a thing as absolute obedience. Demon is a term for a creature whose task is the opposite of all this, namely to promise evil, to command to excess, and to threaten with poverty whenever one intends to do good. The To do good here, obviously, to there are so many good things to do, but in this particular context, it's about giving out, giving to charity, giving to the needy, giving to the uh, to orphans, even giving to uh, building institutions which one should attempt to as much as possible to have a share of that when there's a you know if, building a hospital, building a school, an institution for the elderly, orphans, etc. It goes beyond this because I've noticed that Muslims would really donate uh, uh, when there is a mosque to be built, and they should realize that building the whatever the society needs, and seriously, when we talk about needs, uh, we talk about all these essential institutions uh, of education, of science, health, uh, social services, essential for the good of the society. So when let's say that the if the imam at the mosque says this week we are adopting such and such project, let's say it's a clinic, and the imam encourages people to donate, and the let's assume that a number crosses your mind immediately. Let's say I'm going to donate 100, you know, units, dinars, pounds, dollars. So let's talk about 100%. That's the number that crosses your mind. It's 100%. Typically, you don't go. Typically, there is almost like uh, an ongoing. It's not even a debate between one and Satan's or the demons was. It's not a debate even, but it's almost like negotiations. Typically, you don't go up typically, but if you are fortunate, you'll go beyond the 100%. Make it 150%, make it 200%, make it 300%. Typically, this is not the case, but it's possible, and it does happen. Now, we said negotiation because Satan is trying to lower the number, the percentage, going from 100 to 50%, 25%. So the moment the Imam, still at the end of the khutbah, the sermon, he says donate, and you say 100. You pray the Friday prayer. Now we are done with the two sermons, but you are praying, and you have already went down to 50, and you pray the Sunnah after the congregational Friday prayer, and the number goes down to 25%. And when you are walking in the direction of the donation box or the carpet, as the small prayer carpet that they sometimes put, it might go down to zero. All excuses are known, really. And one of them is that Satan will tell you that this will diminish, especially if you think about a large number. The issue will be, that you might put this into a good cause, or you are going to do this and that for the family, and you know very well that you know the numbers, you know your own numbers. والتخويف عند الهم بالخير بالفقر. So Satan promises poverty, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises manifold rewards. مثل الذين ينفقون أموالهم في سبيل الله كمثل حبة أنبت 7 سنابل في كل سنبلة حبة والله يضاعف لمن يشاء. So up to 700 folds and even more. Okay. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised to replace, to increase. There is the barakah, but Satan will not leave will still seduce, tempt the Muslim, thus prompting to evil stands in contrast with inspiration, the demon in contrast with the angel, and divine succor in contrast with desertion. To this, reference is made in the statement in the Quranic verse, and of everything we have created pairs. ومن كل شيء خلقنا زوجين. For all existing things have opposites, being in pairs, save only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Save only God, the exalted, who is unique and has none in contrast to him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Indeed, he is the one, the real, the creator of all these pairs. The heart, being between the demon and the angel, is attracted by each of them. Like it's really each one of this pulling in his direction. The Prophet ﷺ said, the heart has two calls, lammatan. The one is from the angel, and it is a promise of good and belief in the divine reality. And whoever finds this, let him know that it is from God. Praise be to him. And let him give thanks to God. The other call is from the enemy, meaning Satan, and it is a promise of evil, denial of the divine reality, and forbidding of good. And whoever finds it, let him take refuge with God from Satan the accursed. After that, he repeated the statement of the exalted, which begins, Satan threatens you poverty and orders you to immorality, while it continues, while God promises you forgiveness from him and bounty, and God is all encompassing and all knowing. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. الشيطان يعدكم الفقر ويأمركم بالفحشاء. Hassan, meaning Hassan al-Basri, Wallahu alam. Hassan said there are two anxieties that revolve in the heart: an anxiety from God, the exalted, and another from the enemy. God has mercy on the creature who pays attention to that which gives him concern, executing that which has its source in God, the exalted, and struggling against that which has its source in his enemy, the enemy of God. In fact, this is really an amazing construct, and it'll be lovely simply وَمَا كَانَ مِنْ عَدُوِّهِ جَاهَدْ. So there is a form of jihad against Satan, these temptation, the inner struggle, if you will, and that's why the returning from the minor jihad to the greater jihad, which is the realm of that, is within the heart. And we'll read the rest of this paragraph, and we will end with it. It's an important paragraph because Imam Ghazali mentions the following hadith in regard to the attraction of the heart toward these two ruling forces. The Messenger of God sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "The heart of the believer is between two of the fingers of the merciful." Uh, the the first hadith في قلبي لمتان that we have already read. Hassan Gharib, only one. It is known. It is marfu, having a chain of narrators all the way to the Prophet ﷺ through one chain of narrators. This particular one about the between the two fingers of the merciful Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the heart of the believer is between two of the fingers of the merciful. And we'll go back and read. Imam Ghazali says, God is too highly exalted to have a finger made up of flesh, bone, blood, nerve, and divided by joints. Nothing like unto him. But the spirit, ruh of a finger, is swiftness in turning, and ability to move and change objects. For you do not want your finger for its own sake. Now this is the human finger, but for what it will do in turning and replacing things, even as you ordinarily do your work with your fingers. Going back to the hadith itself, of course, when Imam Ghazali immediately said that God is highly exalted to have a finger made up of flesh. Needless to say, but one has to. In the Judeo-Christian tradition in general, you will find an image, either a hand extending down from the clouds with the finger pointing, and sometimes even the the image of God as an old man. No, there's no such a thing in the Islamic worldview. But I wanted to say one thing before really stopping right here, and inshallah we'll continue in the next session. Imam Ghazali mentioned that in the second chapter of Ihya Ulumuddin, on this introduction, then the first chapter on knowledge, second chapter on creed, he said that Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal resorted to allegorical interpretation of three texts. This is one of them. because typically some scholars of the Hanbali school would not, they have hard time resorting to allegorical interpretation, but that's exactly what should be done in this case, and the Ash'arites, inshallah, have it right. Um, it is a complex story, but I thought that it's worth mentioning Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, and of course this is by way of praise. Uh, so suffice it, inshallah, for this session. Until next time, سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.